Well, first of all, just one thing to be clear. This was actually done under the previous government. So hold on. First of all, I want to start by thanking Spencer. I met with him before, and one of the things that I insisted on when I was in opposition, then when they started around, was to come and engage the people of Beach Bay. As the one thing that I begged more than anything, because at the end of the day, it's the community. I can speak to you simply as a representative. It's easy for me. Whatever it is that the majority of the voters Beach Bay want is what it is I will support. So for me, it is very simple from that standpoint. Now, when I met with Spencer, I said to him from before, is that the way in which this was done is that first, people bought the land with a certain amount of zoning that was already there. They lobbied the then government to actually, let me finish please. They then lobbied the government to basically change the rezoning. When people bought their property here, they bought it with understanding that it was a certain zoning, it was zoned for residential, and it was zoned for, I think, low density, like condos or that kind of stuff. The zoning changed. Now, that was something I think that happened from 2015, 2016, even before the 2017 election, when that rezoning was actually done. It was actually done under, I wouldn't even say the last government, even the government before that, where Kurt Tibbett was a member. I think he was the person who actually brought it. So this was something where the zoning was already changed. The issue that we have now, and which is where this government position is that first, we have a Ministry of Sustainability. We expect that any projects or any large-scale projects being done has to meet certain standards. I can say to you that the Premier is very passionate about it from that standpoint. And as I said to Spence at the time, you need to go, you need to engage the people of Beach Bay, and you need to tell them exactly what it is you're doing, and whatever it is you need to do or adjust or whatever, I'll be guided by them in that regard. Now, there are already certain laws that are already there. There are property rights, where anyone that have a private property, just as though you want the enjoyment of your private property, other people have the same thing for that too. You may not like the design that some neighbors may put on their house, but people have certain freedoms and certain things. What we want more than anything is to make sure that anything being done within the community finds a way to blend the community and work with the community. That is ultimately what it is that we're looking for. But we also got to recognize that with anybody else, with their land and what it is that they can do, they have certain rights with it. The question for us is find the balance between property rights and what it is that can work with the community. Now, I can say this much, I'm a representative. If the majority of the people in the Beach Bay community say, well, as a representative, this is where we want you to go, so be it. What I wanted more than anything is for everyone to come and at least get information and then make their decision. Some people have indicated to me privately before their full support. Some people have said they're on the fence. Some people have basically said they don't want it. Ultimately, some people are more vocal than some, others aren't. And I will say to people, at the end of the day, my numbers not change. Give me your views, and we will deal with it accordingly. What I don't want to say, because ultimately, there are elements of this plan that will come before cabinet. I have certain responsibilities I don't want to step over ahead of any of my colleagues, because we do things at a cabinet level, and I will take it at that. But for me, what we wanted more than anything is one, for people to have the information to make an informed decision, two, provide us with that feedback. And then we will make the necessary steps as a government. What I can say to you is that this is something that is on our radar. And again, I want to thank Spencer, because for the simple fact that this thing, as the World Caribbean people said, what started bad in the morning can be good in the evening. He has come down here, he's taken his licks, which is something I should have done from about 6-7 years ago before he even did the rezoning. Because at the end of the day, that is the genesis of this, when the rezoning was done. Well, what I can say is for us, yes, because we have a complete different approach in terms of our own Ministry of Sustainability. No.
Because I heard another big developer's coming in and trying to scoop up a whole big park behind there, because I tried to buy the piece of land behind my house, and I am understanding that whole thing is in a shilling store.
Well, what I can say,
what
listen.
happens now, when more of these are moving into our backyard, you're telling me the rezoning goes on without the residents knowing?
Actually,
at a cabinet level?
No. What I can say to you, there's no rezoning that has gone on since this government have been there. What I can say to you, and this is where the delicate balance come in, we complain about people buying land. No one wants to complain about people selling the land. Because at the end of the day, I know, well, what I'm saying is, well, the zoning in terms of how that was done before, I can assure you it will not happen under this government. That much I can tell you. The Minister of Infrastructure is here, and I specifically asked him to make sure he came to this meeting tonight too. Jay is still here, right? Yep. For this exact same reason, because at the end of the day, like I said, there are still laws. So far, they have complied with all the laws, and in some instances where we have pushed back in planning, they have gone back, they have made the adjustment to their plans. I know the turtle nesting was one of the issues that got raised. One of the big things to me is the access to the beaches. Listen, I grew up in Northward, I lived on the road. This is where I also come to for my beach. And it's the only beach that we have in this area too. So that's the reason why I'm vested. No, well, for me, I'm just factoring that in. So, but then there's also the traffic issues. Because listen, let's be straight now. There's about 184 lot development on, I think, the left side going down there. There's another 600 and something being proposed from by where Mr. Nixon is. You know, I mean, this is already the second largest constituency. The east, once you pass Savannah, Domino's is pretty much one lane traffic. Without the east-west arterial and without these different road networks going anywhere else, it's going to be a challenge for us. But equally, what is also a challenge for the government, just to kind of bring it into the wider picture, is that currently, just even speaking for the tourism minister, who's actually off island right now, if not, he would have been here. We have around 7,000 properties, 10,000 rooms, 20,000 beds. We have a situation where we do need to get more room stock on the island. That's one of the biggest issues for us. As it stands right now, the Airbnb market is also a big challenge for us. A lot of people have gone into the Airbnb business, and what that have done is taken a lot of rooms off the domestic market. What does that do when the supply drop down and demand keep coming up? Prices are going up. Right now, the inflation alone from quarter to quarter is 11.2%. So there's a bigger issue here in terms of just the overall housing, room stock, and everything else. And that's part of the national tourism plan that the actual minister is actually looking at right now in terms of reviewing. We have always spoken about going east. There's another property, I don't want to speak of the term, I think about 1 million square feet, I believe, is being proposed on the other side of that island in terms of resort. So it's about finding the balance, finding a way of making it sustainable. It's not going to be easy, but at the end of the day, I can tell you, we do have certain measures available to us. But so far, what I can say is that as per the law of the land, they have complied with everything so far. But at the end of the day, they still need to find a way to make it work. Because for me, first and foremost, I am still an MP. And what the majority of the residents in this area say is pretty much how I believe. And all I've said to these guys is what you should have done before. Come, give the people information so they can make an informed decision. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. Some people have already expressed to me how they felt. Privately, some have been publicly, and I will say to everybody, give me the information. But for right now, Spencer is here, asking the questions, get what it is you want to get out, give me a call, and then let me know exactly what it is you want.
We are going to bring it, thank you for that. But I would still like my rezoning question answered a little bit.
I can tell you, it's not happening. Listen, the way in which it is set up right now, and there are some changes that the minister is actually looking at for the planning law. I mean, simple things as bringing back where you can add on the 10% without even going to planning is one of the things that's being looked at. The way in which people can object to certain things is also being looked at. And again, so those are part of the wider issue, because I can tell you, that's where it started from.
How
And then
do we
this,
get input into that though?
well, I can tell you, when it does come up, I'll be the first to send it out.
But is it, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. A couple of years ago, there was a meeting. The people involved did not pitch up and explain. I think you were there, I was not there, I was working. But I know the government, the current government, were told about all beach bays concerned about it. And nothing was done. This could have been prevented, or at least we could have got more input then, and it wasn't. So my concern is, you know what, yep, this is going ahead. We don't have a say, it's going ahead. That's bottom line. You know, there's a lot of environmental impact that hopefully they can manage, but there's still going to be a lot of environmental loss. There's going to be a loss to the people that live here because this is not and no one would be Sleepy Hollow. I still don't understand why we have to have more big hotels like this when we could do a lot more eco-friendly, kind of smaller, boutique kind of stuff. Cayman is losing its greenbelt. It's going to be a concrete jungle.
Yes.
I don't have children. A lot of people have children here. What are we giving back to them?
Well, no, one of the things.
The zoning and sustainability issue here is antiquated.
It is.
It is antiquated, and all we see now as we drive anywhere on this island is land being stripped apart and buildings being placed in places where they shouldn't be. The entire zoning of the island needs to be looked at, and the conservation of green belts have to be put in place before it's too late.
Well,
Because
listen.
it's becoming too late right now.
I can agree to that, but one of the things, and again, I leave the Premier to make an announcement in his ministry, what I can say to you that one of the UN sustainability goals is to have 30% of land actually preserved by 2030. What I can say to you is that
Why can't we do it now?
No. Right now we are
At the rate we're
Hold on.
going at,
Hold on. Right now we're around 11% in terms of the target. This is when we came into office. I mean, over a year ago, it was at 8%. We have actually, if you look at all the cabinet extract, literally cabinet meat doesn't pass where the government is not out buying land. I mean, we're still limited in terms of one, resources. Two, a lot of the land is still privately held. So we still have to go and literally buy or negotiate with people to actually buy the land. We'll move from 8% when we started to 11%. And right now, for us to literally achieve the 30%, and I want to put it out there now, at some point, if people cannot no longer go out, the conversation has got to be how far can they go? And so this is all part of it now. What I can say is that the National Development Plan, which is required to be updated every 5 years, which is the 1977 Development Plan, has not been developed for a while. I can say to you, and the Minister can tell you right now, that is actually one of the things that the Premier himself has even taken on as his personal thing to make sure that National Development Plan. We just had, forgot his name was here a couple of weeks back, we were actually looking at Cayman overall sustainability model, not just from there's a term that they use, it kind of slipped me right now, but looking at overall sustainability model of the country, because I can tell you, when we do factor in many things in terms of our eco assets, we actually spent money, brought a guy in to actually value our eco assets, which is actually valued I think like over $2 billion. And right now, one of our main goals is actually to preserve those assets as much as we can. But at the same time, we've got to recognize that people do have certain private rights, but at the end of the day, we are set, we're committed to meet that goal of the 30% land preservation by 2030. Just as though we're looking to get the Paris Climate Accord by 2037, those are targets that we have set for ourselves. So,
but there are things that could be implemented from now.
there are things that those, hold on. There are things, hold on. There are things that are being.
Own the land, right? They go, they strip it first of all before they get planning permission. Number two, they don't even develop it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It just sits
Well,
there.
what?
stripped.
It's kind of funny because just I don't know.
There's gotta
Hold
be
on.
a deadline put into
Hold on.
place.
What I can say to you.
Build on
Hold on.
it within 6 months and that's
What I
it.
can say to you that things are being worked on. I can't comment on it. I know it's being I can tell you for a fact that things are being sometimes I wish the God had paid more attention when the Premier brings in different papers. Maybe I spent more time focusing on that. I would have been able to get a better answer. But what I can say to you, it is actually being worked on as we speak right now. I expect within at least a month there'll be certain announcements being made by the Premier's office, the Minister of Sustainability. This is one of the ministries that we actually created under this government. And what I can say to you, and one of the reasons why I don't pay much attention to it, the person who's managing it, which is the Premier himself, is passionate about it, he's leading it, he's driving it. I don't need to pay much attention to it. But what I can say to you is that there are certain metrics that have already been set by him. He's working crazy like crazy to get to those metrics. And Sandy, whenever you have a Premier on back on his access, can someone please ask him the questions on that? Because I don't want to speak about something that's outside my constitutional responsibility, but I can say to you it's being worked on. Listen, I just want to leave it as one thing. I have 3 kids. Nobody wants a concrete jungle. Let's be clear with that. You understand me? And one of the things I've always said is that while we can remember what it is that we inherited and what we had, at the end of the day, what we're going to be remembered for is what we leave behind. I used to ride my bicycle come down here to that very little cargo place and I had a blast. I want my kids, and hopefully next year being 50, for my grandkids. So if anyone honestly believes that any government, at least this government that I'm a part of, is sitting down there just going around just approving everything willy-nilly. Minister Jay can tell you the amount of fights we have in cabinet just to even people building docks. I mean, because all those coastal permits have to come to cabinet to be
Look
approved.
what's happening to South Sound.
You know? Well,
The government is
hold on.
allowing these monstrosities
Hold on.
to be put
But
into
I asked the
another
question again.
very quiet
I asked the
residential
question
area.
again. Go back and check to see how many coastal permits have been approved for South Sound since this government came in. Now, I can't speak, and this is at the end of the day why the elections went the way it went, because people got fed up from the, whether it be the cruise port initiative and all that kind of stuff, and the wanton disregard for the environment. This is a government that is committed to the environment. Now, we can't go back, a year in office and just think that we can simply eradicate or just remove everything that is happened before us. But what we can do is make sure going forward, the things that cause the problems that we have today don't continue. That is the commitment I can give you. I can't go back and tell you that based on the law of the land as it stands then, and people complying with the law, that they have certain rights to their private property that we can't take away from them. And just as though you want certain rights for your property the same extent as other people. I can tell you, I have a problem right now in my own family where people are trying to sell land that we don't want them to sell, but they just hell-bent and selling it to the highest bidder. And we're saying, well, we can buy it from you for this. They're like, no, I can get more. These are problems that everybody wrestles with in their own family, trying to keep land within your family.
Yeah, but that is where the zoning and the permits and the planning comes
Well,
in.
I can assure you
So
on the
that
zoning
if
side.
I own land of 5 acres on South Sound, for example, that I will know before I buy it what my rights are and what they're not. And if Cayman Islands says to me that this area you can only build 3 stories, if you're gonna buy the land, these are the restrictions before you buy it. Now it's your decision whether you're gonna buy it or you're not. If it's not good enough for you, then don't buy it. Go somewhere else, find another location. This is the stuff that's not happening.
Listen, I cannot agree with you more. And what I said, the way which was done before, I completely don't agree with it. But what I can say to you is that will never happen under this government as long as I'm part of it. That much I think is.
So I have a comment for you in line with all that has been said before. Part of the problem why it looks like it's going to be a concrete jungle, by the way, in brackets, one of the reasons why we don't like your project, right, is because it is an affront to the environment. If you wanted to put a resort in here for the Mandarin, why couldn't it be something a little bit different instead of a high rise? You don't have to come in because it's already passed. I'm just saying.
No, it's actually important. I think it ties on to something that